Can you imagine? Can you imagine who you are? Can you really imagine who you are? You see, today we're beginning a 4-week series on living in love. And today we're going to explore the most important aspect. The most important aspect of this whole idea of living in love. And that is loving ourselves. I made a post on Facebook in the course of the last week, and it had to do with this idea that we must love ourselves first. And immediately on Facebook, you're going to get your responses. And the response I got is, what about the teachings of Jesus? Where Jesus talked about that first we must love God above all else, and then after we love God, we must love our neighbor. And I responded, if you cannot love yourself, you cannot know God. Because you see, if God is the infinite love, the infinite beingness of all things, then you are simply an expression of it. And to not be able to look in the mirror and see the divine in the eyes that are reflecting back to you, there's no way that you can know the infinite expression of the one. And then if you cannot know that this is the divine as me expressing, if I cannot know this, then there's no way I can look into your eyes and see that you are the divine. So where we talk about this idea, is this being narcissistic? It's only being narcissistic if it stops here. But when we focus on this idea of self-love and we radiate that love from within us and we look out and we see love in everything, we see love in every person, now we're coming into the expression of what is truly ours. What has always been ours. It's not like it's something new that's going to be revealed. It's always in us. It's always been with us, but we've hidden it under many an illusionary thing, that this idea of duality, this idea of living in a material world, this idea of being in human body. You see, we are not a human having a spiritual experience. We are spirit having a human. We've got to come from the essence of what we are, and so we've got to lay down the idea that the body is who we are. The body is an expression of who we are, and that expression will change as we change our idea of what that is. This week, we are truly blessed at Agape. We have a gentleman at our home right now, Brother Gregorio. And Brother Gregorio is a faith healer from the Philippines. And we've gone through 2 days where 16 people already have been through healing sessions. It cannot even be described. But what is happening is there's a transformation happening within the individuals. And you see it's a transformation because they are being awakened to their self. And what Gregorio talks to me about, and he says this so clearly when we're sitting talking, he says, I'm not doing anything. I'm merely the vessel of the divine that you have called forth into your life to allow you to have this healing so that you can remember who you are. I'm providing you with the vessel to give you the relief so that you can now do the work from a clear platform. You see, he embraced the idea that he's just pure love expressing. He's not the healer. Because another human cannot heal another human. Are you hearing that? Because now you're dealing in the world of materiality. The question we want to ask ourselves is, what do we believe about who we are? You see, this is where all self-love comes from. It comes from the idea that we have to ask the question, who are we? That study, that self-study is a lifetime. It could be many lifetimes because I don't think we ever fully unfold it. Because I think it's because God is infinite, then for we are infinite, therefore it will always be unfolding at a greater and greater level. Here's the interesting thing. This idea of who we are and how we come to our idea of what that means will be the basis of our relationship with ourself, and it is the basis of all the relationships we have with everyone. So if we are having relationship struggles, whether it be at work, whether it be in the family, whether it be with our neighbors, whether it be with our children, our spouse, whatever it is, it has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with us and knowing who we are. Because if we are the individualization of God, no one can touch us. No one can have an impact on us, because when we are so clear as to that aspect of God that we are centered, and despite what they do, they cannot have an impact on us, because we know that underneath, at the essence of all life, is the spark, is the essence of God itself. It's just not expressing at that moment. It is unconscious. It is unaware. Its light is under a basket. But when we open our heart and look beyond the physical demonstration, beyond the physical experience, we shine a light that lifts, and they will change. Because the power of a conscious being is greater than the power of millions unconscious. That's why the impact of the great avatars of Jesus, of Buddha, of Krishna, why they had the impact. How could one man, one woman, like Mother Teresa, have that type of impact? Because they were conscious of who they were. And that's the power. Our job in life is to do this, is to study who we are. Over and over and over, we're in study of who we are. We're examining ourselves in every type of situation, every type of relationship, every new thing that comes up. We're examining who we are. Oh, I got a health challenge. Who am I? Oh, my relationship is challenged. Who am I? Oh, I want more money. Who am I? I would like a new job. Who am I? We're always asking, who am I in that? And that's going to bring us back to this idea that we're more than this physical body. Because if we were in the realization of our greatness, we would not be having a challenge. So all the challenge is the contrast that allows us to desire, to create a new desire to express at a deeper level. So when we're talking about self-love. So self-love begins with, who are we? Who am I? That's what you ask, who am I? Now, from there, the next question that we must ask is, what am I here to do? See, so many times people will come to me in counseling and ask me the question, well, you know, I got this job, I'm not real happy, this isn't going well. And I ask the question, so what are you here to do? And we've not studied that in our lives. We've not taken the time to say, okay, what is my passion? What is it that's so burning in me? What are these qualities, these ideas, these gifts that I've got that are desiring to be expressed in the world? What are they? What do I value most about life? I value spiritual awareness. It's my number one value. My second value is to teach. So can you see that me standing here, I'm living in bliss? I don't ever want to get off the platform, because when I'm here, it's the greatest feeling in the world. But I've got camera people and sound people and ushers and board members that say, Lee, you've got to keep it about 20 minutes. So I'm here to give you an infinite amount of wisdom that can be tapped into in 20 minutes. So I'm giving you pieces, golden nuggets that you can leave here with, and you can ponder, you can question, you can review, you can study. So the question I want you to go through your mind is, why are you here? What is it that you are here to do? Because when we have a purpose, we live in the now. When we don't have a purpose, we live in boredom. We live in disease. We live in controversy. We live in upheaval. You see, the purpose of agape is to bring joy to life. That's our purpose, to bring joy to life. So when you come here, the only thing you should expect is that you should expect to feel the joy. And then you have an obligation to be that when you leave. And through that, you change the world. I'm going to say some things that are pretty bold. And one of them is, we should have no desire to influence another. We should have no desire to make friends. We should have no desire to try to put on an attractive personality. Because when you desire to have friends, you're saying you're going to sacrifice yourself and adjust your personality to have others like you. Are you being your authentic self in that case? Or are you subordinating yourself to another's idea in order to have friends, which means, wait a second, which means I don't believe I'm one with God. Because if you are one with the infinite, you will not subordinate yourself to anyone, anything, any experience, because you don't have to. You're one with all that exists. Now, here's the beauty. When you understand this oneness, when you are living this authentic life, you will attract the people that are vibrating at that level. You don't have to make friends. They will be attracted to you. They will come. You don't have to seek them out. You don't have to go to Match.com. I got so many people, Lee, I'm on Match.com. I said, oh, Lord, you're in for a rude awakening. Because I don't know what the consciousness out there, because I haven't been on Match.com because I've been married for 2 eternities. I do want to play, though. Wouldn't that be fun? But I hear a lot of married men do that. You go out there and put your thing on. Well, who would I attract? That's just that. Did you hear that? That was the ego game. Why was that the ego game? Because in the saying of that, in the possibility of that, I was what? I was edging God out of my own consciousness. Did you hear that? I was going back into the material world at that moment and saying, wait a second, there must be more because the material world says that. And in that, I came out of oneness. You see, there are so many things that we are surrounded with race consciousness that is all around us, collective consciousness, humankind consciousness, that we buy into because it's our families, it's our neighborhoods, it's the political parties, it's the churches we belong to that have fed us, and we have forgotten who we are. Who are we? We are the individualization of God. Can you say that? Who are we? Who are we? You got to believe it, because if you don't, no one else will. And that's what we've been taught. We've been taught to play small. I feel like preaching today. Because that's what we've been done. We have been beaten down over and over and over again to play small. We are not small. We are the individualization of the infinite. And when we claim that power, there is nothing that can stop us. You see, the system that we live in has the potential of holding us in its grasp, because when it puts you in a box, it can control you. But you were not ever meant to be controlled. You were meant to be free. You were given a mind, and a mind is there to think. It's to ask questions. It's to create. It's to go beyond. It's to express. It's to infinitely be you and constantly evolve. And when you are that, you can't feel any better. It is love radiating through you. When you're that on fire and that passion is exuding, however it is for you, oh, it feels so good. Oh. So what do we do in relationships then? We don't try to attract them. What do? We cooperate. That's an interesting way of looking at it, isn't it? That we cooperate with each other. And why do we cooperate? Because when we cooperate, we understand that our only purpose of a relationship is to grow and to support. So we come together in community like this so that we can grow our individual self, be supported by others of like mind, and at the same time help others grow and support them at the same time, so it becomes an interweavingness of the divine, bringing itself to a higher awareness of itself in human form. Isn't that good? I hadn't planned that, but that really worked good. That's the whole idea. When we're tapped into infinite mind and we're on a roll, that infinite mind comes through and it gives us the clarity and the wisdom. So when we think about this idea of self-love, I really want to plant these thoughts in you. These idea of self-love is, who are you? And you go, I am God expressing. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Okay, this side, who are you?
I am God expressing.
This side, who are you?
I am God expressing.
Okay, both sides, who are you?
I am God expressing.
Woo! Do you love it? Think about the people watching this video. They're going to get this craziness. I love it. Okay, the next question we go to. What am I here to do? The answer is really simply this. I'm here to express whatever I choose. There's nothing else that you have to remember. I am here to express whatever I choose. And guess who gets to choose? You and I, for ourselves only. Not for our partners, not for our parents, not for our children, not for anyone. We choose for ourselves. So your work is to become the expression of God. Your work is to understand, what do you choose to be? The last thing is to be authentic. To live from that place of who you are, to live from that place where you're doing what you want to do, so that all you are is being yourself. And you know what? When you're yourself, it feels good. It feels real good. It's like when you have a baby or a young boy like little Lash over there. What I know about Lash, because I've been a witness to his birth from the time he was conceived to the day he is now. Lash is a very shy, but his mind is always looking and going. And when you hold this little boy, when he allows you to hold him, because he's very particular, and he looks at you with those eyes, he's not doubting who he is. He knows who he is. What he's saying is, do you see me? Do you truly see who I am? Do you recognize me? Do you see that I'm God expressing? And will you give me the freedom to be as I am and be a shy and observant boy? Don't try to make me outgoing. Don't try to get me to do something. Accept me as I am. That's what all children are saying. That's what all adults are saying. That's what anyone who has ever walked the planet is saying. Accept me as I am. Not when I can fit into my bikini. Not when I have this other job. Not until we have this perfect home. Not till I'm driving this car. You see? Accept me as I am. Not when I have my roots dyed. Things like that. There's all of these conditions we put on. And we put on an aura. Why do we put on this aura? To try to get someone to like us. Why do you care? If you want to get your roots dyed, if you want a new job, you do it for one person and one person only. That's for yourself. You become so self-conscious about the fact that everything I do in my life is to be the expression of God that I've come to be. Does that make sense? But here's the thing I want you to say. You've got to determine what that is. And that's where like a John D. Martini comes in and he teaches a value-driven life. What do you value? We've talked about this before. What are your top values? And if you're in relationship, can you sit down and say to your spouse, I know your top 5 values, and here are my top values. So now that we communicate, let's communicate to those values. How can I support you? How can you support me? But if you don't know that, there's no way the relationship's going to go anywhere. You see, because to know who you are, You got to know you're one with God. You got to know what you value. You got to know why you're here in order to authentically begin to live. So it's funny. My son Stephen has been pounding on me for weeks on an issue. And I've been fighting against what he's been saying for weeks. And sometimes we're a little stubborn in how we look at things. But I saw a quote this morning. And it read like this: when we no longer push against, but we move toward, we have a greater life. What we no longer push against, but we move toward, we have a greater life. You see, when you're pushing against something, you attract more of what you're pushing against. When you're moving towards something, you're in a flow and you attract that which is like it to you. And when you're moving towards something, that flow is so beautiful, it's so great, that your life is expanding. But when we find that we tighten up and we're pushing against something, it's constricting, and we're choking life from growing. So the idea was all about Facebook. And the idea is what you post on Facebook. And sometimes I like to say something like, see the duality going on here. See the both sides. And I realized, wait a second now. I didn't say this the other day to Steve. I'm focusing on what I don't want. I felt constricted. Instead of focusing on what I want and only what I want and being that model. So I'm sure there are areas in your life where you might be a little bit like me. I'm going to ask you to find those and decide, can I test one of them? And can I move toward what I want instead of trying to fight what I don't want? So, for example, if you are struggling with an illness, don't focus on fighting the illness. Focus on health. All emphasis is not beating a disease. The emphasis is on being healthy. Now see, when we're being healthy, that's the divine, because God does not know disease. The infinite does not know disease. If you're focusing on building wealth, you do not focus on that you're in debt. You focus on the idea that you are an infinite expression and wealth is coming to you. When you're focusing on relationships, you don't focus on the other person. You go within and you do what you've got to do to fall deeper and deeper and deeper in love with you just as you are with no change. One of my greatest exercises that I love to give people, and I don't know how many ever do it when I give it to them in counseling because they won't do it in front of me, is I ask them to stand in front of the mirror naked and tell themselves they love them. Can you imagine if the people would do that in front of you? It would be a great job to be a minister. I know everyone wants to be a minister now, but that doesn't happen. But the idea is, isn't that great how God loves to laugh? Do you notice how joy is in the laughter? I want you to remember that because this month we're going to be really taking laughter deeply. Wait till we get to February 24th, because that is the day we have the agape sex talk. You will love that day. You will want to bring your parents. You will want to bring your children. If you got a wannabe, you're going to want to bring them that day, because we're going to look at this, because there is an illusion in this country that needs to be shattered. And I'm telling you what, I'm taking that illusion on. And I'm going to present to you an idea so full of love, so full of joy and empowerment, that you will see what a sacred act can be. But before we get to that, in order to hear that even clearer, I want you to leave here today, and I want you to focus on three things. Who am I? What am I here to do? And how can I live my authentic life? I promise you, your life will be forever changed. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.